Hi. Aww. She always has to be with me while I'm filming, so ladies and gentlemen, Millie. Hey everyone, Renee here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we are going over my January wrap-up. It has been quite a while since I've been able to do a wrap-up, or at least it feels like it has. As you know, I've said this so many times, last year I was in a pretty big reading slump, but I did start out January significantly better. I read and finished 8 books, so I know that's not a lot to some people, but to me, that was great. So without further ado, we're just gonna get into the books. So the first book that I read in January was Guild by Raven Kennedy. This is book 1 in the Plated Prisoners series, and this was a book that I had heard a lot about. I know a bunch of my friends have read the series and I was super intrigued about it. This essentially follows the myth of Midas, where everything he touches turns to gold, and we follow our main character who has been gold touched by King Midas, so she is literally just gold. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first started reading it, I was kind of confused because I wasn't really vibing with it, and I was confused about what was going on in a sense of like the romance, and if there was a romance in this book, and you know, just there were some things that I wasn't quite feeling throughout the beginning of this book. But to be honest, as it went on, I got more and more engaged with the story. It definitely picked up, and actually one of my friends, I think Hannah from Hannah's Recent Reads, told me that this was like just a big setup book essentially. So hopefully book 2, I believe Glint, is a little bit better. I did buy it because I do want to read it, and I probably will read it this month. But overall, I gave this book, I think, a 3.5 out of 5, just because I had such a wild array of emotions going through this book, between whether or not I thought it was going to be like Stockholm romance, no romance, what was going to happen, who was going to be involved. But I do like our main female character. What is her name? To be honest, I don't really remember her name. I think it's Oren or something like that, but I like her. So because of that, I'm going to keep going, and I did like where this one ended. It definitely ended on a note that made me definitely want to pick up the second book very soon. So I am happy I read it, but definitely look up trigger warnings before you read this book. It is a little bit more of a darker fantasy romance, so definitely look up trigger warnings, because I did not. And I feel like I would have liked it better if I did, because at least I would have been expecting it. Next up in January, I read Lemon by Kwon Yo-sun. This is a, I believe, Korean translated fiction, and more of a thriller type of vibe. And this one kind of stumped me a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. It stumped me because I wasn't quite sure what I was getting into, because it starts out being this kind of murder mystery whodunit. Like, there has been a murder that you're aware of in the beginning of the book, and as you're going through the book, you're getting these different perspectives and you're trying to figure out who committed the crime. But I also feel like this book is very ambiguous, and there's a lot more to it than just figuring out who committed the murder. I feel like there's a lot of topics on society and class and beauty standards in Korea and just morals, and it definitely, in my opinion, is not only a thriller and like a murder mystery type of thing, also to me kind of felt like a character study and just so much deeper than what it's advertised as. And I know that this book throws a lot of people off, and it doesn't have the best reviews on Goodreads. I think it has a 3.3 something, which I can understand because of how this ended. But me personally, I really enjoyed this. I gave this a 4-star. I think that it was a very enjoyable read. I would definitely read it again. It's not that long. It's like 140 pages, and it just makes you think. It really made me think a lot in the best ways. And I really don't want to say much else because I don't want to spoil it, because I feel like if you just go into this blind, you'll take out of it what you want, really. Like, I feel like you can take something different out of this per person, and I think that's what makes it so special. So I do really like this book. Next up, I had 2 manga, and that is Waiting for Spring Volume 4 and Volume 5. I finally decided to continue with this series. I love Waiting for Spring. There's really not much to say, especially since we're on Volumes 4 and 5 now, but I'm sure a lot of you who are interested in manga know it is more of a romance slice of life manga involving basketball. And it is just so fun and such a joy to read, and it always puts me in a good mood. I know there's a lot of other volumes. I forget what it goes up to, but I'm slowly building my collection. So I believe I gave both of these, did I give one 5 stars? I'm not sure. They were at least 4 stars. I have to double check. They're like in between 4 and 5. But overall, the series so far is about like a 4. So I'm gonna say that. Love it. Next up, I read Flux by Orion Carlotto. Can you even see this beautiful cover? Like, wow, that is such a stunning cover. But this is a poetry collection. This is my second Orion Carlotto book. I read Film for her last year and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was one of my favorites of the year. And this one, I will say, I didn't vibe with quite as much as Film for her. But I do love how intimate these poems feel. And there is some other mixed media throughout. Like, you do get some drawings in there, and then you also get like pages that literally looked like they're ripped out of a journal. It feels, like I said, very intimate and personal. And even though I couldn't relate to this one quite as much, I did really enjoy it. It was great to read. I think I gave this a 3.5 to a 4 star. So there's not much else to say. It's just a poetry collection, but honestly, Orion Carlotto, I'm obsessed with, and I would definitely check out her work if you haven't, especially Film for her. But this one is also good. And like I said, the cover is just stunning. Next up, I finally read Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. This was so good. Literally one of the most psychotic books that I've ever read. The main character on here is an absolute narcissist, definitely not likable at all, and the stuff that happens in here is really crazy. And when I heard people comparing it like a female rage version of like American Psycho, I was immediately hooked, and I can totally understand why it gets that comparison because it's fitting. I would say there's a lot of trigger warnings in here, and I don't think it's gonna be for everybody, but it essentially follows our main character who is a photographer, and she has an interest in photographing men in obscure situations, a little bit more risque, and she is just so unhinged. And also, something to note about this book, even though it is absolutely insane, it's also pretty funny as well. There's a lot of hilarious things going on. There were quite a few times where I was laughing like out loud while reading this, and it completely shocked me just because of how serious and unhinged this book is. The fact that it was able to give those notes of humor as well just made it so enjoyable to read. And once again, I don't think it's going to be for everyone, but if you do like literary fiction with completely unhinged female rage type characters, this is for you. I highly recommend it. I gave this a 4.5 star. On to a book that I didn't really like that much. I finally moved on to the next novella in the Steminist series by Ali Hazelwood. I read, what was it, Under One Roof? I couldn't remember. This is the second one in the Steminist novellas that I've read. I read Below Zero last year, and I gave that 2 stars, and I also will give this one 2 stars. I don't know what it is. I loved The Love Hypothesis, but these novellas are not it. Like, I'm sorry. I do like Ali Hazelwood, but these novellas are just so cringy. I don't even want to read the third one, and I'm so glad that I didn't buy the bind-up because I almost did, because I don't want these on my shelf. They're so cringy, they seem so juvenile, and I don't think they're young adult. There's just something about them, it just cringes me out while I read, and I don't enjoy it. I simply don't enjoy it. It's lucky that it's not a 1 star. The only reason that it's not a 1 star is because it is still slightly entertaining in some way, but I know, I can't do it. I probably won't read the third one, and I also haven't even read Love on the Brain yet because I'm kind of scared to. I hear that it's not as good as The Love Hypothesis, and I don't know, Ali Hazelwood, I really don't want her to be like a one-hit wonder for me, so I don't know. These novellas are just, they're kind of setting me off. It's not for me. And then the last book that I read in January was Ricochet by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This took me so by surprise, and I'm so glad to say that I really liked it because I remember that I read the first one, Addicted to You, last year, and I thought that it was all right, but I wasn't super in love with it. And I know that this is a very well-loved series. A lot of my friends have read it, and a lot of people I know just absolutely adore it, but I wasn't really on that wagon after reading the first one, so I also wasn't sure how I would feel about this one. But I said this in the vlog that I read this for, that I feel like now that I'm more engaged in the world and I know the characters a little bit better, it made this one more enjoyable. It's starting to feel more connective to me. And even though the male love interest wasn't in this one a lot or at all much, I still really enjoyed it because I'm starting to really love the characters. And I do like Lily, and I love her sisters. especially Rose. And I know Rose has her own book with her romance, and I cannot wait to get to that one, but I'll just have to keep going. So I gave this a 4-star, and like I said, really, really liked it. I'm really excited to continue with the series, so I think the third one is Addicted for Now, and I'm excited. I'm on board now. I'm not gonna say I'm obsessed, but I've gone from like to love, so I'm really happy about that. So yeah, that is pretty much all of the books that I read in January. I have most of them here with the exception of the novella by Ali Hazelwood. So 8 books. I'm really happy with that. So I am starting out the year ahead of my Goodreads goal, which is 70 books, and I am just hoping that this continues. I'm hoping to read more and more each month, and please, no reading slumps. And you know, it's February and I read a lot of romance, and February is the month of love, so hopefully I'll be really in the mood. So stay tuned for that. I definitely have some fun vlogs planned to come and just some other stuff. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have for this video. I do hope you liked it. If you've made it to the end of this video, go ahead down below and just leave some of your favorite books that you read in January. I'm always looking to see what other people are reading and loving. Also, all of my socials, of course, are down below. My Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, TikTok, the works. You can follow me on all of those platforms for more content from me. And yeah, once again, I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.